Okay, so it's 12:05. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Anybody that is here right now, we want to welcome you to Understanding the Medical Home. We use this as an opportunity to discuss the concept and model of the medical home while also offering people an introduction to creating a care notebook. As we get a little bit closer to the end of this presentation, we are going to tease our February 14th care notebook training. So a little Valentine's Day special for you. But as we open this up, I like to start with a little bit of an icebreaker. I know that we're still waiting for some people to come in, but I'd love to hear in the chat, or if you're willing to share vocally, both myself and the other presenter, Jen, we will share. But just tell us your role, if you are a caregiver, a professional, a parent, a community member, an advocate. Just give us in a little bit of information about your role and what you hope to get out of today's training. So you can put that in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, our wonderful moderator, Mary, she will unmute you or let you speak so that we can all hear. But we would just like to break the ice.
I can go first. I know you wanted to put it in the chat, but I'll just say I'm Jennifer Aaron, Parent Information Center, parent consultant. Um, I'm going to say I'm a dual role today because I am not versed in the medical home, and also I'm a co-facilitator for today. So I'm looking to get out of what the full understanding of the medical home.
Thanks, Jen. So Jen mentioned she is our other facilitator. Jen, would you also like to share just a little bit about your role with PIC, or the Parent Information Center?
Sure. Parent consultants work with, and I call it the Department of PTI. Um, and what we do is we help families with their concerns that they have with the educational system. We work with all parents, but we specialize with parents that have special needs with any disability. We also consult and help them become better advocates for their loved ones or family members. We also do parent trainings. I work on with the other department of F2F, family to family, in regards to medical concerns, medical trainings, um, working with families with their MCOs, which is Highmark Health Options, Delaware First Health, and also AmeriHealth Caritas. We also have an MCO call every second Tuesday of the month at 11 o'clock. We do ask everybody to, others or agencies to get out there and let their families know that we do this, so families can come, learn new things that maybe they don't know about, and also ask questions that they have concerns with their MCO. So what else do I do? Um, that's about it. Those are my main roles. We always do other things, outreach. We do outreach training, um, go to deal with schools. We can go to churches that want to know about Parent Information Center, also behavioral places, to agencies. We work with them. We're doing this training, the medical home. We do a lot of trainings that I'm working on. I'm working on one, the care mapping, and also how if you are a caregiver, the roles of a caregiver. So we do trainings monthly. We do encourage you to go out on our Parent Information Center website because we have some fantastic information out there that would definitely enhance your learning or understanding of the benefits that Delaware provides to our families.
Thank you. So I can go next just as the other presenter. My name is Jaleesa Anderson. I work with the Parent Information Center. So as my role, we're doing some of these different trainings with F to F. I also split my time with the doula program. So just introducing doula services and supporting our community doula program that is housed under one of PIC's health programs. So this is really an opportunity for us to get a better understanding of how the community that is attending today views the medical home model, and just being able to share some additional information on what it is, how to create it if you don't already have one, and how to sustain it moving forward with, different community opportunities, training opportunities, and just an opportunity to really talk between the people, right? Something that Jen and I talk about a lot when we do this training, or when we talk about how we're able to support families in the community that are looking for this, is that kind of advocacy piece that PIC is so big on. So we are going to just dive right in. Mary, did we have anyone in the chat that shared, or anybody that was interested in speaking up just to share your role and what you're looking to get out of today's training?
No.
Okay, all right. So we talked a little bit about PIC, what we're doing, supporting youth and families in Delaware. So I'm gonna make this just a little smaller. So the Parent Information Center of Delaware was established in 1983. The Parent Information Center is a statewide nonprofit organization that provides tools for parents, caregivers, and advocates of children to secure appropriate education and related services. So that's where we're coming in right now, a related service. PIC empowers parents to become their child's lifelong advocate, and for youth to become self-advocates. Okay, so our mission is to improve health and educational outcomes for children and youth by empowering them, their families, and the professionals who serve them. So that's really what we're looking to get an understanding of today, is whether you're a parent, whether you are a youth, a professional, what is your role in creating and sustaining a medical home for either the person that you love, the person that you're a caregiver of, or the person that you're supporting in a professional role. So some of our learning objectives for today would be to define the medical home, learn those important components of the medical home, what it means for it to be a medical home, what are the pieces that go into it, how to make it sustainable and successful, understanding how to create and build a medical home for your family member or loved one, or for the professionals that are attending today, how to start to have that conversation in the spaces that you work in, understanding why a medical home can be important for the people that you are serving as a professional. And then we are going to just take a peek into utilizing the Care Notebook in various settings and stages of life. I did mention in February, we will be doing a deep dive into the Care Notebook, where any families or caregivers that attend our in-person training will leave with a completed Care Notebook so that they can go home and really start to piece that together and have that support beyond the training. So for those of you that are on right now, what do you think a medical home is? I don't like to put people on the spot, but I do want to hear some voices. So anybody, whether you know, whether you have no idea, what do you think a medical home is?
When I first heard about medical home, I thought it was exactly what it is, a medical home. That everybody came into your home and set up shop of what they were doing for that family member, whether it be your practitioner, your speech pathologist, your BCBA, or your OT specialist. I thought everybody came in, like after you have surgery, you have the nurse come in, you have somebody else come in. So I thought it was everybody came to you, but I understood now that that's not the case. That's not everybody comes into your home.
Thanks, Jen. I am going to scroll up to our participants. I see Jenny or Tara. Would either of you like to share what your thoughts were of a medical home?
Oh, I do. Sorry, I just was trying to figure out how to unmute.
That's okay.
Yes, so for me, a medical home is a place where all my history is, like where somebody has been tracking all of like everything that's happening and everything, all my surgeries, all that I've been, like a specific provider that I always see to track all of my, medical history.
Okay, thank you. So you see kind of the duality between what people think a medical home is or could be. So thank you both for sharing. That was like the perfect example. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go into this video. It's a short one, but it gives us an opportunity, and I will maybe need to reshare. Nope, we're good. Okay. So we're just going to watch this quick clip to get a better understanding of what a medical home is, how it is defined, and really like what the model looks like.
So a medical home is not a place. It's a relationship with a primary care practice, a place where you go to get coordinated, comprehensive, accessible, family-centered care.
It means a doctor who's willing to coordinate all the different medical needs through specialist forms, reports, sharing information, and best of all, somebody that you didn't have to re-explain every time you walk in the door.
So a benefit of a medical home is that it's a planned relationship. It tries to anticipate what your needs are and helps to meet those needs. Someplace where everybody knows you and tries to help you. A place that helps to coordinate the care that you get with specialists and with community resources. And there's lots of barriers for doctors in providing a medical home. So one of the biggest barriers is lack of education. So doctors aren't necessarily trained in how to be a good medical home. Another problem is time. So doctors feel a lot of pressure to see a lot of patients to get everybody's needs met. And so they don't always have the time to spend with kids who need a little bit extra time. And then reimbursement. So doctors are on a lot of pressure to run a business, and it can be difficult to spend enough time with the patient if you're kind of feeling that business crunch.
Some doctors simply are not willing to be a medical home or to do the work that's needed. However, I want to encourage you because there are many doctors who do. To encourage my physician to become a medical home, I ask them, what can I do to make your job easier?
I think you go to your most trusted medical professional, whoever that might be. So that might be the neurologist, it might be the general practitioner, it might be an eye specialist, whatever, and say, we really need coordination here. And we need somebody that will be open to us, take our phone calls, listen to us, work with us closely.
So most families find doctors are good medical homes in a couple of ways. So one is making sure that you're connected with other parents of children with disabilities. So know who has a reputation in your community, in your neighborhood, for providing good medical care for children with special health care needs and who's not afraid to provide that kind of care. And then second is working with your insurance company. So insurance companies have a rough sense of who's available, who's comfortable dealing with special health care needs because they get that information when doctors provide bills.
I just had this feeling that I didn't know how to help Will and how to build in some kind of structure or method for keeping on top of these crisis issues and this chronic medical issue. So I feel like the medical home has given us a safety net.
Okay. So after hearing that video, we get a little bit more of an understanding. A lot of people are in your camp, Jen, where initially they go into it thinking like, oh, a medical home, like I am the medical home. I had a parent say that once and it was like, oh, so profound, right? Because she was doing all of this work to keep all of these things in place. But the medical home is not just the home, right? In fact, it's outside of the home. It's not one prescribed place. So with that model, oh, technical difficulty, here we go. With that model, the medical home is an approach to delivery of primary care. So we talk about primary care here, but when we look at the medical home as a whole, we wanted to go even beyond primary care. This is a place, excuse me, where exactly like Jenny mentioned, we've got a Jennifer and a Jenny. I'm gonna have to like keep those two to separate. The medical home is where all your care lives. And it's not just your medical care, but it's the supportive care beyond there. It could be OT, PT, it could be the additional support of a social worker, a nurse case manager, a care coordinator, or a care manager. It's really pulling all of the services together to be a comprehensive, patient-centered way of caring. And so that's what we're starting to talk about here. I'm going to pull up all of these because I think it gives a better picture. Okay, so the medical home approach should be patient-centered, comprehensive, coordinated, accessible, and care that is committed to the quality and safety. So when we talk about patient-centered care, it's a partnership among practitioners, patients, their families, to ensure that the decisions are respected of the patient's wants, needs, and preferences, and that patients have the education and support they need to make decisions and participate in their own care. I always like to read that one out because I think that it really covers the whole thing. If we're starting from a place or starting from a position that we want whatever we're looking for to be really patient-centered and specific, it almost becomes like your IEP, but for medical care, right? It is centered around your child or the person that you're caregiving for, and it is what they need. It's not just the general model. It's not works for most of the population. It's not what works for other kids with special healthcare needs. It's specific to your child. And that can only happen when you have practitioners, providers, even pharmacists, other supportive care members that know your kid or the person that you're caregiving for, and they are making this something that is comprehensive and accessible to your family. So that comprehensive, we're talking about a team approach. So we are looking for that team of care providers. We mentioned your loved one or child's physician. That could be medical health care needs. That could be preventative wellness. We're talking acute care, chronic care. Again, that could be the supportive services. It could be therapeutic services. And then when we start to talk about sustaining this model, which is where you get into like all of like the words, right? So it gets a little talky on this page, but what we really want you to understand is how many pieces can go into this. And the real goal of the medical home is that you as the caregiver or parent do not have to be the one that's juggling all the pieces, right? So when we talk about that comprehensive coordinated care, we are talking about a team approach that takes the load off of the parent and puts it back onto those medical care providers. In the video, they mentioned it doesn't have to just be your primary care doctor. It could be a doctor that you really trust. It could be your care coordinator or care manager at your MCO. It's really just someone that you've been able to talk to that understands the needs of your loved one that you've been caregiving for, and they're able to take the time and effort to start making the coordination of this care accessible for you and your family, right? So when we talk about that accessibility, it's you're able to access the services in a shorter waiting time. You have the electronic or telephone access. You've got a strong open communication line. Some of that could include like the health IT innovations. It could be a space that offers you like health literacy. Something that we talk about a lot, especially in the state of Delaware, that is a good example of this kind of medical home, where you've got the patient-centered, comprehensive, it's coordinated, it's accessible because it's 24/7, it has an app. We start to talk about Nemours, formerly known as AI DuPont Children's Care. So we talk about them as an example. Now, they're not the end all be all. They are not the only example, but they have an opportunity for families and children that are receiving care there to have that coordinated care, because providers are typically all in one place. You've got your primary care that speaks to your urologist, that speaks to specifically like different departments. Then you have social workers that are built into the system, and you're able to access all of this, including health literacy and that IT information through an app. So it's a really great example, but it's not the end all be all, and it's not something that we recognize that every family has access to. We've got families that are in other states that sometimes attend. We have families that are downstate that it's just not as accessible to come up to Nemours or really to access it in the same way. And the big piece is that we want this care to be accessible. So while we do talk about Nemours, sometimes we'll talk about ChristianaCare because they have a patient platform. That's just another way for it to be accessible. But if you are able to pull this together with your medical home, and maybe you have a care manager, a care coordinator through your insurance company that's able to make that accessible piece more accessible, then that's another really good opportunity as well. So we like to give some examples, but I don't ever want anyone on the call to think that that's the end all be all. It just starts to give people a picture. Because at the end of the day, and our last bullet, we really want this to be committed to quality and safety. And so if you think, oh, like we've got this big organization that's doing all these really great things, but maybe you just don't feel like they are committed to the quality and safety for you and your patient or loved one, then it's not the right medical home for you. In the same way that if you've been doing this all by yourself and accessing maybe a social worker through a community supported organization, you think this really just isn't working for me, it's not accessible, I just don't feel like the quality is there, then that might not be the medical. And so what we want you to walk away from today is understanding all these pieces, how to advocate for them, and how to make sure that it's something that's achievable and sustainable for your family, for you as a caregiver, and specifically for your loved one. Okay? So like we kind of mentioned, family engagement and family-centered care are extremely important pieces of the medical home, right? It really has to specifically revolve around you. Think of the medical home being the solar system, right? We're sad Pluto. We're only going to count the 8 little planets. But when we think about it, it's the sun at the center. Your loved one and your family are the sun at the center, and everything else has to revolve around you. So Earth is primary care. We've got Mars that is your acute specialty care. We've got some therapeutic asteroids that are floating around. But everything that's happening in this system is happening around you, specifically for you, right? And you are the ones that are pulling it in. It wouldn't exist if you weren't there. And I think that that's something that Jen and I talk about. It's really important that parents and caregivers know that you have so much power in this. You play the active role. You know your child the best. Okay. So just think of the medical home as, for our caregivers, you are the sun at the center. Okay. For any professionals that are on the call today, while you may not be the sun at the center in this instance, you still play a really important role. And the solar system would not be functioning if you were not there. Okay. So I know that our call is small today, but we are recording this for anybody that was not able to make it or anybody that wants to come back and view. Just our group share. I know that Jen will share. I'll go ahead and take some time to share as well. But for any parents or professionals that are on the call, even if you're a professional, we really want to hear one of these questions answered. So how has your experience been with your pediatric healthcare? Has it been overwhelmingly positive, negative? It can be mixed. And we don't want you just to sugarcoat it. This is really an opportunity for us to hear and start to mold ways to recreate this, to share more information to make it sustainable and achievable. And also, we have 5 people in the call today, but there could be 105 people that watch this on our YouTube and find out that they're not alone in their experience. So, any of these questions, if anybody would like to share, Jen, I know we talked about this a little bit. Would you like to share just your experience? Because you are not only a professional, but you're also a parent. So I'd love to hear what your experience has been and open the door for anybody else that would like to speak.
My experience, being a mother of a child that has been on autism spectrum was a little rocky because, again, I didn't know about the medical home. I didn't know what the expectation was for different medical professionals were. So it was a little rocky, but then again, being the advocate parent I am, was just trying to put that medical home together and make sure that everybody was connecting and getting the same information that the other provider, my pediatric, was giving to the doctor or the vision doctor. And Nemours tends to be really pretty good with that. Their system, I think, is a connection that makes it easier for the medical home. Unfortunately, I don't know how it works if there's somebody out of their realm, like if there's a doctor that doesn't facilitate with Nemours in the Nemours realm, their connection. I'm trying to find that word, but in their network. But I'm quite sure there's, again, if there's a social worker involved, that they can help facilitate getting that together. So once I learned the system, and again, most of my connections for Gracie medical professionals, they are in the realm of Nemours, and those systems are connected. So it has been much better since I was able to understand, how the system works and who connects who, and they all connect together. So it has been very positive. Again, you could utilize, I believe, maybe your social worker, the social worker at the hospital, that can be that voice to help you put your medical home or have the medical home professionals communicate with each other. So I would utilize your social worker. Sometimes there's a medical social worker at the hospital. Sometimes you have a social worker from DHSS that can work with you. Of course, Parent Information Center is here also to help assist under the F2F program. But you want to get somebody that also is going to support you in getting those your medical home people together, connected, so that they could share your loved ones' information.
Thanks, Jen. So Jenny, I saw that you put your camera on. Did you want to answer one of the questions?
Yes. So for me, so I work with Early Head Start, and we collect and we support a lot of the families in, making sure they're advocates in their medical journey with their children as early as possible. And so for us, it's kind of, I have mixed feelings over this because one, it's hard to get information from some medical homes as far as the children's well-being, and also get information to the families as how important it is to make sure that they have everything up to date. So we try a lot to partner with as many agencies or pediatricians as possible, and it is just very hard to get in and to tell them how important it is for us to have this information so we can support the families, and then hopefully they can take over that process of, learning and advocating for their children. So it's just been hard to get information from pediatricians on vaccines and just their health. Even when they do the handouts, when they give the, you sometimes get handouts at the end, all the information is in there, and I asked the parent, I said, how was it? And she's like, oh, we were in and out. The other issue we have is that, I see that your definition says accessible, And sometimes as a parent and also as a person that works with families, the medical homes are not as accessible.
Mhm.
You have an emergency and they're like, oh, we don't have any appointments, or you don't have an appointment until, March or whatever the case may be. And so
Yeah.
they're going to the walk-in or to the emergency room. And we try to say, no, call your because we know with the emergency, of course, if it's an emergency, we want them to go there, but they're going for just, fever, and because their PCP sometimes is not available, don't have appointments. So I feel sometimes that they just want to, as more patients as they can see, the better it is for them. And they care more about the quantity than the quality of care that they give.
Mm, okay. Yeah, we hear that a lot. I think even as parents, we've probably experienced that. For me, I do also wind up using Nemours for my child. I have a 2-year-old. Walking into parenthood, I just was thinking, wow, the paperwork that's going to come out of this is just so much. It's so much. I think it blew my hair back a little bit. I was working in the medical field. I had gone to school for this work. And when you are playing parent and advocate and like coordinator and social worker and all these things, it's so much. So when we get to the advocacy piece, Jenny, I think that that will be a really big one, because what we want is for parents to be able to go eyes wide open into advocating for what they need. We talk about, and you'll see as a little teaser, we talk about getting everything in writing. I'm very much that person. So I mentioned I'm a new parent. I have a 2-year-old. I'm expecting, so I'm due in March. But I also know myself as the patient in the past. So I identify as someone with a disability. I also have pretty severe ADHD that I've had since I was a child. So there are a lot of things I've been doing that have worked really well for me, but I've never been a parent before. So I'm having to relearn some of these skills, right? In ways that positively affect the people that rely on me now. And so one of the things is getting everything in writing. I recognize that for me as a parent and just a person, you may say it to me. I do this with Jen a lot. We will have a wonderful conversation and then I'll end it with like, hey, I love you, but like, please send it to me in an email, because I don't want to forget anything. I don't want to miss anything. And when I go home as the person that's relaying like how one of Atlas's appointments went to my spouse and the people that care for my child, I want to be able to not miss anything. And that's really hard if I'm getting a printout at the end of my appointment and it's missing something. But what we really want to get out of this training as well is letting parents and caregivers know that you can look at that and be like, whoa, 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 this is missing stuff. I do that a lot in the beginning with a newborn. I was so like nervous. I was also just like deeply overstimulated, incredibly tired. And there were things where I was like, I know that we talked about this, but like I don't see it on here. And so now, we're 2 years in, and sometimes it does take time. We hope that parents don't feel like this has to be a trek. But I know for me, like at 2 years in now, I can say, no, we talked about this and it's not on here, and I need this paperwork to see it, because when I go into the app later, I need to also see it on there. Because when I reach out to the next provider, they're going to have access to this, and I don't want anybody to be asking me extra questions that I personally might get tripped up on because I'm getting overstimulated. So that's just like my experience. And that's why I like talking about this so much, because it shouldn't have to be all on the parent. A lot of these negative experiences are coming because the parents are carrying all of this weight up the mountain, right? They're being all of those roles on top of mom, grandma, auntie, like whoever's caring for this person, on top of caregiver, social worker, like community advocate, all of these things. And it's so much. But when we hear those overwhelmingly positive experiences, it's the people that have really honed in on not just like a good team, because it's not just that. We've honed in on those positive experiences because we have parents that are able to say, no, I feel comfortable advocating for myself. I know that I'm not doing anything wrong in asking for this. I'm not doing anything wrong in expecting more because it should be more. And so that's what we'll talk about a little bit further. But thank you for sharing, Jenny, because you also bring up another good side is how parents feel when they're trying to figure this out, right? You're walking into this situation thinking that you're supposed to be supported and that this is supposed to be helpful and accessible. And when you leave and you're like, it's not, what do? Right? We've so consistently been taught that a lot of things in the medical system, it's the end all be all. If they say one thing, like that's it. If they tell you to do one thing, that's it. And we've just gone so trustingly into that. And this is not my place to say like, oh, you shouldn't be trusting of that. But what we do want to talk about is making sure that when you leave, you feel like everything that you needed for your child has been addressed and is made accessible for you. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that or expecting that out of your care. I saw that we had a new person join. Did anybody else want to add or answer any of these questions? All right, we will go to the next slide. Thank you again both for sharing. So we just mentioned this, to use your power. So Alice Walker said the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. So when we talk about this patient-centered model, right? We talk about making it accessible for the patient's wants and needs. But for those of us that have children that have a special healthcare need or have little ones or have kids that are new to the healthcare system, maybe they are like a recent addition to your family or your home, they don't always know how to speak up for themselves or have the ability to do so. And so this is an opportunity to show that like, no, that power still exists. You as a caregiver have so much power. And the moment that you are made to feel like you don't, and you accept that and start thinking that you don't have any power, that's what we want to get away from. So the wonderful Jennifer Aaron is going to speak on this piece. So I don't need to reintroduce Jen, but I did want to mention Jen is both a professional working for PIC under the PTI program, but also leads the F to F program. And Jen is also a parent. So she is coming from the advocacy space, both professionally and personally. And I think that there's just no one better to be able to speak to that than somebody that is doing it both. So Jen, would you like to speak on the next couple of slides, please? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you, Jaleesa, for that. I can't see all of my the slide because let me see if I can change this. I don't want to do too much on my oops. Here we go. So yes, I always say parent first, advocate first. Because as parents, whether you have special needs, loved ones, or typical, you advocate for what you believe in and it's always been the best for your child. So it says reflection. Right one way you have advocated for yourself in your life, and right one way you have advocated for someone else in your life. So being a mom that has a daughter on the spectrum, because she has a voice in her own right, but she does not know how to advocate for herself. I have always been her advocate. So I said, what is an advocate? An advocate can be broadly defined as someone who speaks up to make things better. And that has been me for my daughter for 14 years, is helping to speak up to make sure that she gets the services she provides, to get the not just services, but people that care about providing good quality service for my daughter, whether it be medical, whether it be educational. That's what I'm always advocating for Grace, because she deserves that. Advocates can speak up for themselves or others I'm also a parent that helps other parents utilize their tool of power, which is their voice for their loved ones, because again, they're sharing the same boat as I am, is that they have maybe children that cannot voice for themselves. And so we, living this life, I hear similar situations that I have gone through, that families are going through. Some know how to advocate, some don't know where to get the information. Some are overwhelmed in meetings and want to advocate, but feel like they're overwhelmed because there's so many people saying something totally different than what they need to advocate for. So I'm there to help bring the light on how to advocate or help them in better advocating for their loved ones. And I do a lot of role playing with my parents. It works. It works. Each of you has already been an advocate. Everyone, I believe, has that quality of being an advocate for whatever in your life. You may not have attached that label to your actions, but advocacy covers a very broad range of activities that just about everyone in many settings does every day. You advocate for yourselves and you advocate for others. People do it all the time. They speak up. Jenny, you're an advocate, for your families. I don't know why my phone. Sorry. So I do apologize for that. It still rings when I hit that I do not disturb. Um, so we are there to advocate because parents, sometimes friends, family members don't know how to advocate. And you have the information, you have the tool to help them become an advocate, you know. And so naturally, I think we all have that quality to be an advocate. As a parent of a child with a disability, you have already had to speak on behalf of your child. You may have spoken to a teacher, daycare worker, doctor, nurse, social worker, other parents, relatives, or friends. Advocacy to me also is getting the information, understanding that information, and then advocating it out to the party that you want to advocate it for. So advocacy is to understand what you believe in and then how to apply it to how to apply it for your situation, whether it be your own situation. You could be advocating for your own bills. Why the water we're advocating for clean water or anything, wanting for better service, medical service, better appointments, better. It's to better do the betterment of anything that you believe in. That is advocacy with passion. So, we are, like, again, saying we are all advocates in what we believe. But to be a really good advocate is to understand why you believe it so passionately, understand and get the tools and the information that you need to advocate for what you believe. When we say advocate here, we do not mean a legal representative. It is the most broad definition. Practice using this word. It has influence in the education world. Advocacy is a key for our children, and we also doing advocacy brings change. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. So yeah, just again, as parents, as professionals, whether you are, I would hope that if as a professional you're doing this work as a labor of love, it's something that you're also passionate about. And if that is the instance, then you are advocating exactly like what you're doing, Jenny, whether it's for you personally or for the people that you're working with. Every time you sit down with them and you share this information, or you are supporting them, uplifting them, you are saying like what is available to them, that's advocating. Every time we go in and say, no, you missed something, or no, I need this in writing. Even for me as a parent, if I sit down and say, please don't read that to me, I really need you to show it to me, I'm advocating in that instance because I'm going to walk away from that appointment having the best understanding of how to support and provide for my child. And so it really is the broadest form of the word, because there's so many ways that you can be an advocate, but also so many ways that you've already been an advocate. So Jen kind of talked about this a little bit, but why be an advocate, Jen? You're okay. And you're muted anyway, so we can't hear you doing whatever you are laughing that you might have done. Wait, you're still muted.
I be an advocate to bring change. Jenny, you talked about, parents not getting the information. We strongly believe with that passion, Jenny, you're going to get the answer. You're going to get it, and you're gonna bring change, whether it be law change, whether it be the way the process works, whether that person maybe need training in their role. So advocacy is to, it says, bring their own valuable experience, um, being the expert, getting that correct information, going to the right person to get the information that our parents need. So I call it a go-getter. I go get what I need to get for these parents. I don't stop. I'm resilient. I constantly have to, because why? That's the role, that's the position that I've been placed in to help my families. And then they see, advocacy that you're doing. It's like, okay, just because this professional said no, or this is how it should be, it's not, like Jaleesa said, that doesn't mean that that's the be all. We have to do our homework, and then once we get our homework, then we advocate, then we execute.
Mhm.
So that when something isn't working, say, this doesn't sound right, this doesn't look right. I have to find out is what's accurate for my families, because this just doesn't sound right. So it's again, being a passion of getting the right information and providing it to the families so that their children can be successful in whatever that they need.
Mhm.
Um, you have the only long term connected to this child. You might be the only one, ladies or gentlemen, that is the life saver to help this family. That said, everybody else I talked to 10 people, and they could not do it, but I got a hold of you because you believed in what I was saying to me, and you got me the information that I needed for my child. That's not only being a great advocate, but that's rewarding. That's so rewarding because you are able to help a family, help their loved one. So
Mhm.
that's advocacy. That's why we do what we do. The passion to help
Mhm.
others, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Something else that you kind of touched on that we like to really empower families when we discuss this, um, is when you're advocating for your own child, you may not know it, but you're also advocating for others. We don't ever want to put that weight on your plate to say, like, oh, we recognize that that can be really overwhelming for parents, saying like, oh, every time you do this, you're really helping another child too. Where like in your mind right now, I just want to help my own child. And we get that. But even when you don't realize it, every time that you speak up and say, oh, you missed this, every time you speak up and say, hey, this wasn't available in Spanish language, like, what about that? Every time you say, hey, that person was supposed to call me after every appointment, I really need a call. I want to make sure that this is being documented. Every time you do that, every little thing you do that you put into practice for yourself sparks an idea, makes it consistent, is another way for you to speak up. And every time you're doing those things, you don't realize it, but you're doing it for someone else too. And so we recognize, I like to say that your plate is like, I'm talking like Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday, after a feast, full, right? And so we don't want to put anything extra on your plate. But when we're talking about advocacy, especially when it comes to the medical home, the real goal is to take things off of your plate. And every time that you speak up to take something off of your plate, it reinstills in your providers, the medical home that you're trying to create, even within the community, that this is something that should be done for all parents and caregivers. And then when you start to talk up in your community and you're sharing what you've done for your own child, it sparks in another parent, oh, you know what? Jen was able to do that. Maybe I could talk to her and see like how she did that. Or we see the same doctor and my doctor is not doing that thing. That's why in the video it mentioned talking to other people in your community, in your circle, in your people group that is going through a similar experience and who has been supporting them. They may be supporting themselves and you may say, hey, Jen, and I do this a lot to Jen, just personally. I will call Jen and say, hey, Jen, like, this is what I'm going through. And like, have you had an experience with this? Because I could really use the wisdom of like a parent that's been parenting. It could be that you hear Jen say it in a community meeting or a committee meeting as a professional and say, okay, we see that other professionals are doing this. They are sharing these training materials and information. How can we pull this together for a group of our parents that are asking these same questions? There's so many layers and levels that you're already doing this that you might not even recognize are not only positively affecting your family and the person that you're caregiving for, but you're making an active change to these systems. And that is so important. So we've kind of talked about these 6 skills already, but understanding your child's strengths and weaknesses, and a disability if applicable, right? So that might be that you are getting involved in organizations that are in the community that support your child's disability, or support how your child identifies, or support some of the things that your child or your family are going through, knowing the key players. So that would be, again, like someone like Jen, knowing the MCO call so you can get on there and ask those questions. Who is your care coordinator? Who is your state representative? What is the, like, oh, sorry, I had a glitch there. Who is the medical director at the program that your child is enlisted in? Who does the care coordinating in the transition program that you might be looking into? What is an organization in your community that is offering free translation services? Like knowing those key players so that when you walk into this space, like you are ready to go. At that point, you're just accepting more team members, but you have a whole like full deck behind you. Knowing your rights and responsibilities. What are your rights? What are you responsible for versus what is your medical provider, your medical home, your care coordinator, your nurse case manager? What are they responsible for? Because once we get those roles really clear, you know, oh, I only have to do this much because you're already doing so much more. And so when you have a call with your maybe care manager, or you've got a call from the social worker that's helping coordinate your care, or maybe your child has a surgery that's coming up, knowing that, no, I did all the things I needed to do for my child on this side. This is how you all are supposed to support me. This is your responsibility. Because when we know that information, that's when we walk into the space saying like, nobody can tell me wrong. Nobody can tell me otherwise. I walked in knowing what to expect. And so when a curveball is thrown at you, you can say, well, wait a second. This is what I understand to be true for my responsibility. I know that these are the rights of my child. So how are you all supporting us in this space? Becoming well organized. So we talk about this a little bit at the end when we get to the care notebook. But even if you have a medical home that you've created and you are gathering up all those documents, Jenny, like you mentioned, you are saving those like appointment, what is the word I'm looking for? I just slipped my mind. But it is like your discharge papers, you're saving all of that. and you're storing it so that the next time somebody has a question, it's like, oh, nope, I've got this here. Or you know what? I'm going to call the doctor after and say, hey, I got my discharge paperwork. It's different than what you said to me in person. And I really want to get this clear because I want to understand what my responsibility is versus what your responsibility is. Having that opportunity to become well organized. Now, that may mean if you are a New Moors or ChristianaCare patient, you take the time to enroll in the app. I have the New Moors app. I don't do the ChristianaCare one. It's funny what we will do for our children, but we will not do for ourselves. And so taking that into consideration, like what does it mean for you and your child to be well organized, have that clear and effective communication so that you can be successful? And how can we do that in a way that, again, is accessible and easy for you to do? Because we want this to be easy. The goal is that if you are carrying a log that weighs 1,000 pounds by yourself, you're going to get crushed. But if you are carrying that 1,000 pounds with a team of 10, 20, 30 people, it's going to get a lot lighter for you. And that's really the goal of that medical home, is making that more accessible. And so number 6, the last one would be know how to resolve those disagreements. Using 1 through 5 is going to help you resolve a lot of those disagreements. But it might be like reaching out to someone on F to F, like Jen, that's like, okay, I got a denial. It may be reaching out to your care coordinator or your care manager to say, what does that mean? How do I move forward? What is my responsibility? Can you print my rights out as a patient? Things like that. So really just walking through this, a lot of this people are already doing. Parents have had to get wise and do it quickly. And so they're doing a lot of these things. We just recognize that to become a really effective advocate, it's putting all these together in one space. And when you start to know these pieces, that's when you say, you know what, this falls outside of this. And so I'm going to contact the primary care. I'm going to contact the care coordinator. Let me touch base with the social worker to see who should be doing this, because I know that it's not my role. So we talked a little bit about this already. Communication is key. Okay. So with that communication piece, it's having that understanding of strong communication with your healthcare providers and recognizing it doesn't happen in one visit, right? It develops over time. I mentioned for me, I've been working on it for 2 years. We've got other people that, you know what, they did this quick, fast, in a hurry. They found great care providers, and it's something that worked for them. It might be another parent that enrolls in a program and their care facility has an app. Boom, they're enrolled in a medical home overnight. It could be something like that. It could be more of a relationship that develops over time as you share the information with your child's healthcare providers, right? You come to the office visits, there are topics you want to discuss, you ask questions. For me, I go into a visit with my 2-year-old right away. I'm like, I have a list of questions.
Yep.
I used to get offended when my pediatrician would laugh. And now I'm like, listen, you know, I have questions. So you need to make time for me, because this is my allotted time for my child. And then when we're done those questions, I want all the resources that you talked with me about printed out, period. You'll see, I think it's on the next page, but get everything in writing. Jenny, you are probably already telling your families this. You might be doing it yourself. I am consistent. Do not call me and think that that is enough. You will need to send it to me in an email. If you're not allowed to do that, then you'll need to fax it. You can send it in the mail. But I know that that is my right, is to have everything in writing.
Right.
We talk about this a lot with our parents, Jen. Like, we are sending follow-up emails. We're saying CC us on it. It might be something that you reach out to your care coordinator and say, hey, like, I haven't been able to get this answer. Can you help me reach out to this person? Or do you know like how I'm able to follow up and get this information for our family? And I really need it printed out. I'm trying to keep everything in one place. I'm trying to create a care notebook. I'm really trying to keep these records. It's having everything in one space, well organized. So it's about getting more information.
And I want to say too, we always say if parents don't get it in writing, it never happened. That's it.
Yeah, and so that might mean you get your handout, and this is where it comes back to advocating, knowing your rights, knowing your responsibility, and knowing that you have power. You get that printout at the end of your visit, and you're like, wait, this is missing some stuff. I need you to correct this. I need you to print it out again. I'll wait.
Mhm. And
Or-
Jenny, you mentioned, I think Jenny, you mentioned that about at the end of some parents visit, they're getting printouts that has nothing, doesn't
Mhm,
give a summary and outline. The parent needs to definitely go back, or you, Jenny, go back and say, hey, this is not right.
mhm.
Well, we're busy. No, well, this is part of my appointment.
Yeah.
The information's not here. I need this corrected. Again, using that voice or having the parents be able to,
Mhm.
don't be rushed, because everybody's rushing for what these days? What you
Yeah.
rushing for? We're busy all the time. We're all busy, but again, that would be that voice to say, I'm not going until you correct this, because this is
Mhm.
important for my child. So
And the goal with the medical home is, right, you found a care provider that knows, oh, you know what? Okay, Jen has an appointment today. She likes everything to be printed out at the end. That's me. Like, oh, Jaleesa is coming for an appointment today. I know that she's gonna have questions. I know that she's gonna want to print out at the end, and she's not gonna leave until she gets it. I recognize that our parents don't have hours and hours and hours to sit in these spaces. And so that might be following up with the social worker that's on that unit, following up with your care manager to say, hey, I just wanted to get like a detailed like division of services or an understanding of like the benefits that were provided today. It could be, oh, you know what? I have to run right now because I have another appointment for another child, but this is wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to send this to me corrected in the email. It should be saying this, this, and this, which is what we talked about. Parents have power to do that. You asking for that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like the least they can do is print that for you. And the most that can happen is that they say no and you ask again. Because in this instance, you have the power, you know your child the best, and you are the one that is supporting them on the back end with this. And so that's knowing those key players. Like, you know what? Maybe the nurse case manager was busy and couldn't print it out for you, but you have Dr. Anderson's email address and you say, hey, Dr. Anderson, we talked about this today. They weren't able to print it out for me, but could you please send me like our visit summary because I really hold on to all of that just so that if anything happens or I have to update or we go to the ER, we've got the most recent thing, right? For our families that have a large care provider that has an app, that summary is already on there. But for our families that are using like smaller practitioners or things like that, it's like, hey, I want that printed out. I want that sent to me in an email so that I don't have to re-explain in your words or wait for someone to get a hold of you if we have an emergency setting where we have to go to the hospital, or even if we go to urgent care. And you can ask that from anyone. It doesn't just have to be your doctor, and it doesn't have to just be for an emergency situation. If your doctor sends in a new prescription for your child and you're like, oh, okay, sometimes this pharmacy gives me a hard time. Like, I know that you guys close at this time. If I get to the pharmacy and there's an issue, I need this paperwork ready to go. I
and then,
need another phone
and
number that they can call.
if I can interject too, Jaleesa, because a lot of times families don't even have printers, they don't have computers
Mm-hmm.
where they can get it. A lot of people have emails, but then they don't know how to work email.
Yeah,
So this is why it's so important as an advocate to address that with those.
right. Yeah, and I'm a millennial, but I do not own a printer. If you do not send it to me in an email, it does not exist. I'll put it in a nice little folder. It will exist in a PDF virtually, but if I do not get it printed out, I don't have it physically. And so I will say I have 2.5 years now worth of these summaries. My husband thinks I'm nuts because he's like, what are you gonna do with all these? And I'm like, this is essentially his baby book. This shows all the weights that he's gained, any questions that I've ever asked, any specific topics that I had concerns on, they're in there. And for me, having that kind of information, that's important. And that's the kind of stuff that we talk about putting together and keeping when you're creating your care notebook. That's our February training, so we will talk a little bit about that at the end. But again, communication is key, and you have the power as a parent or a caregiver to communicate, okay? We talked about tips for written communication. We talked a little bit about this. Um, Sending letters, sending emails, getting those emails. When we create a care notebook, we put a space in for business cards. That's a big one for me. Oh, you have an after hours phone number? I'm going to need that. Okay. Because if I go to the pharmacy and they say they can't fill it, I can't wait until tomorrow. Something else is have a deadline when you reply. If you're sending an email, you're sending a letter in the same way that the deadline is expected from you, right? Oh, if you're running 10 minutes late, we cancel your appointment. If we haven't heard back from you in 30 days, this is the consequence. You have the same opportunity to say, hey, I need this back by this specific time because this is really important for our child, our family. We need to turn this into a specific place. Like we can't wait. You are just as important. Jen mentioned this, but get it all in writing. Get everything that you can in writing. And that's from everywhere. I know that seems like a lot, but you may be getting them in emails and things like that. And the next time you go into your main provider, you say, hey, can you all print these out for me, please? Can I get the last 6 months of summaries? Or you meet with your social worker that's on the unit that your child's at. Hey, I really need this printed out. I try to keep track of all of this. It's not enough to have it in an email. Just making and asking for that clarification, clarifying what you want. Specifically making that decision, documenting the verbal discussion, even if there's something that, oh, okay, we didn't need to put this in writing, but I'm following up to say, hey, thanks again, Jen, for meeting with me today. I'm glad that we were able to talk about this, this, and this. Now, I know that some of these can feel overwhelming sometimes for parents that are in the throes of a special health care need, of a transition, of a new placement. It's a lot. But what we want is that, again, with the medical home, a lot of this stuff is being done on the back end for you. So it's just some of these things that you found that dedicated person, right? That may be your MCO. It may be an outside provider, the social worker, your primary care physician, any of those people that are able to start and facilitate and support you as you create the medical home. That's the person that you're saying, hey, I met with this person, and this person. I haven't heard back from them yet, but would you be able to reach out to them? I know that they're within your practice. Or, hey, I know that they'll be following up with my insurance benefits. Could you please get like a summary from our visits and send them to me? Just reinstilling like, this is what I need to be successful in caring for my child, so that the more you say that, you get to a point where you don't even have to say it because you have built a team that supports you in the way that is most accessible for you. The last one that I'll kind of talk about on here, I don't want to spend too much on this because we've talked about it so much already, but using a checklist. So when we start to talk about that care notebook, you will see the checklist. There are lists upon lists, prompts upon prompts to make it easy so that if you're looking through it and you're like, you know what? It would be really helpful to have the med list in the same place that I'm documenting when things have been taken or checked off, so that we can see how often we're using this med or how consistently our provider is doing this thing. It's all there. So we've talked actually about clear and effective communication already. Keep your eyes on the prize, focus on your child, prioritize your child's needs, which you're doing all of those things already. Turn negatives into needs. That's a good one. I'd like to just talk about that a little bit. If you notice that you are seeing in your space like, oh, they're not doing enough of this for us. They're not giving us enough follow-up calls. I'm not getting enough notice for our next appointment. I'm not getting those summaries completed at the end of our visit. So rather than it just being the negative, we're turning that into a need. We're turning that into something that they can fix. Hi, I know that I get a text message the day before, but man, I really need an email like a week before. I'm sorry, I've just got so much going on that just doesn't work for me. Turning it into a need. I need it to be this way. Getting those printouts, like you said, Jenny, because that is a big one. And that's something that happens to a lot of families, but it's like, I need a minute to look over this to make sure that it's correct. Oh, I see that it's not. I need you to fix it and print it back out for me, please and thank you. Problem solve together to find those solutions. Having that person that is going to help support that medical home model, that dedicated that dedicated committed care that's accessible for you, and work with them to make this something that is truly accessible so that you can be successful. We talked about knowing your rights and responsibilities already, but contacting outside organizations like PIC, Delaware Family Voices, F2F, help decode some of those laws. Reaching out to your care coordinator or your MCO, sometimes the care coordinators are called care managers, but getting a better understanding of the Medicaid laws, the policies and procedures. Those might be 55 pages long, but it's okay to say, hey, can I get a printout of like my EOB or like an understanding of the policies and procedures that I'm supposed to be following or that they are supposed to be following, so I can just be more effective when I'm asking these questions. Attending trainings like this, right? Like reading books, going on websites, watching videos, conferences, just building up your space, right? Because it starts off as that solar system with you as the sun at the center, all of your care providers around you. But then you think about the space that you're in, that galaxy of people that are going through similar things as you. You've got community organizations that are rallying behind you and other people that are going through these experiences, translators, interns, like just another layer to add to really complete the space of support that all continues to revolve around you, right? And now it becomes a space that you are simply dwelling in. Asking those questions, asking them in the right places. You'll see as we start to close, we're going to get to the MCO call. Please attend an MCO call if you can. We recognize that not everyone on the call has a managed care organization that is under Medicaid, but even if you don't have Medicaid, reaching out to your managed care, so your insurance companies that should be supporting you, and asking, what are other benefits of being part of your program? How else are you able to support my child and my family as we're going through these different things? And then lastly, it would be joining groups, seeking organizations, other people and community members that are working within your space to support your child, your community, and children like your child or other people that should be in your community. You would be so, probably not surprised actually, but you would be so interested to find how many people are going through your similar experience that you haven't even met yet. But the more that you tread through these spaces, the more that you continue to share this and your experiences, you're going to meet more people. And what's so nice is finding out what they're doing that's worked, finding out what they're doing that hasn't worked, them finding out what you're doing that's worked, and it just becomes an opportunity to skill share, right? And so then you're starting to create this web of other people that are able to support you and your child, and you start to become part of their web. And it might not be that you're making calls for people, you're doing this like outward advocacy, but it's simply just your story and your existence that is empowering to them and theirs to you. And that is such a space to be a part of. So we talked about becoming well organized. This really leads us into keeping the records, putting it in writing, getting a phone log, keeping a notebook. So when we talk about that notebook specifically, we like to start talking about the care notebook. So that'll be our February training. With the care notebook, it is 5 different sections that you're able to fill up space, keeping those records, filling out just the different prompts, whether that be your meds, your activities of daily living for your child, their DME, different resources, just so that it exists. Because if you don't have an app or a website or a patient portal, we want you to be able to have something tangible so that you don't have to keep answering the same questions, so that you have the up-to-date information right in your hands. So at our next training that Jen and I will be doing, it's in person. We will be creating tangible care notebooks with any family and community members that are able to attend. So that'll be up on our website soon. We do have a flyer that we will send out with anybody that has attended today. But what I did want to do is to take an opportunity to go through these last 2 slides. So these are these are just some resources that are really great as you're trying to create that medical home. We've talked about what it means to be a medical home, how to create that solar system with you as the sun at the center, right? How to pull in some of those additional pieces. Some of the pieces that we want to talk about that cover everybody that's potentially on the call, right? Is this works if you have a Medicaid MCO, so a managed care organization under Medicaid. Jen, run it through for me again. Who are the three in the state of Delaware?
It's Highmark Health Options, AmeriHealth Caritas, and Delaware First Health.
Thank you. So anybody that's on the call that has any of those, Jenny, please feel free to share this information with any families that you're working with. Have them reach out to Jen or me. This is really an opportunity to get them connected as well as just another layer, right? Because here's the other thing that I even say with PIC staff is you are not everyone's everything. You simply cannot be. And so you are doing so much work, but share the load. Reach out to us, get families connected, but this is a great one. So it's connecting with your MCO. The next MCO call that Jen facilitates and moderates with the MCOs that attend is listed on our website. So you'll get that in our follow-up email. But this is a website that can be accessed that explains what it means to have managed care. So that's a big one. So what is an MCO? Managed care is a healthcare delivery system organized to manage cost, utilization, and quality, right? On the back end, a lot of people talk about cost, but that utilization and quality is an opportunity for you as a caregiver or even as a community member to get a better understanding of what is available to you and how to make it accessible so that when you're walking into the space, right, you know your rights and responsibilities. You know what is allotted to you and what should be available to you. Okay. So this next one, I'm going to click on the web page because I want everybody to see it. So this will probably be our last slide. We're coming to a close. But when you're using your resources, you have the opportunity to work with a care coordinator or sometimes called a care manager. That name can be a little bit interchangeable. So what is a care coordinator or care manager? It is a healthcare professional responsible for managing patient care by monitoring treatment plans, educating patients on their conditions, and connecting them to relevant healthcare providers. So this is a big one. If you are not working in a massive like healthcare setting that has the app, that has all the providers that are already connected, but you have Medicaid or you have an MCO, this is an opportunity for you to have that person that is dedicated. This is their job. That is the space that they work in. You call them and they are able to help you access some of these providers, some of these services, help monitoring some of those treatment plans. So for some of our kiddos that have a special healthcare need, that treatment plan could be lifelong. So this is a person or an organization that is really consistently keeping up with your treatment plan and what that looks for you. And this is another place that you can go ask those questions. I'm not able to find an OT that covers us. Can you please help me find someone? You know what? I'm having a really hard time finding a dentist that will be able to work with my child that has this specific need. You're able to reach out to them. This is a really great place. Jen, I saw you unmute yourself, so I do want you to talk. I'm just going to click on this link, everyone, so that you can see. When you get this link, you'll be able to click on it. It will take you right to DHSS. Oh, that's so funny. It pulls up dental. But as you scroll down, it gives you different topics that you can go through, your Medicaid renewals. It is in languages.
All the icons,
Applying for benefits.
all
And you
kinds.
click on here. You can get a better understanding of managed care. You're looking into medical transport. You come a little bit lower, and here are some great numbers, okay? So we want you to be able to share this with anybody that's got Medicaid, that has an MCO. Please have them attend the MCO call if they do have questions, but we've got customer relations right here. So that's a great one to call. Provider relations. Calling these numbers, sharing your information, getting their information, being able to have those resources, having that open line of communication. So this is a great page. We'll share that with everyone. It's on the slide. But medical assistance and supportive services. This is a big one.
That's
When you
big
have
right
questions
there.
that you can't get answered, you don't know where to go, this is where you can go.
I just wanted to say real quick, because I know time is at hand, is that um, for the care managers, also, they work with our family. They can also work with the school nurses. And sometimes if the parent feels the need to call them in, they can, per the parent's request, they can attend a IEP meeting. And that's a good thing too to know is that they can do that. But also your care manager can work with the nurse if the child or the siblings have medications that's involved. They can help you with that. That the advocate can advocate that get coordinated as well. I want to just that everybody.
Okay, so as we come to an end, thank you, Jen. Tara, I did want to mention, so that care notebook will specifically be in person because we will be creating those. So this one will not be virtual. We want to make sure that everybody has the materials. And to do that, we'll be having the binders, all of the dividers, the page protectors for any materials that are brought. So that would be in person. We have had care notebook trainings in the past that are virtual or hybrid. They're great. We just really have had a lot of families that are like, hold my hand, walk me through this, like help sit down with me as I create this. And so this one will be particularly in person. We can still share that flyer if you're able to attend, or if you have any family members or caregivers that are able to attend. But something else that we've done in the past is, Jenny, like this could be something worth thinking about, but if you've got a group of families that are interested in this, we've done individualized trainings as well, where
Yeah,
we
you read my mind.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, yeah, please reach out to us. I
Yeah.
think that's something that works really, really well. You should have both Jen and my email address. And like I said, we'll follow up with an email to all of our attendees today. But even if it's just like 3 to 5 families, it could be 10 to 15 families. It's an opportunity for us to deliver the care notebook in a way that is specific to the families that you're serving. So the next care
Great.
notebook is really just for the general public. Anybody can attend, and your families can attend too, of course, if there are spots. But this has been an opportunity where we did one with the Air Force Base. We did another one with an organization that was supporting children that were being placed in foster care. So we've done a couple of these trainings now where we're able to direct them specifically towards a certain population. We bring certain resources. And so for our next training, we'll have just a slew of general resources. But yeah, Jenny, if you have families that are looking for that, please let us know. So
If they want to sign up for this one, but if not, reach out and we'll
Yeah,
make.
I'll be reaching out definitely.
awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
So here's some of the resources for the care notebook that'll get shared too, but we'll go through that when we go through our training. But just again, Jen mentioned the Family to Family Health Information Center. So that's F to F. The program includes peer-to-peer emotional support. Jen does a lot of that. You'll be very lucky to get to be a part of, just talking to Jen when she's going through some of this stuff, supporting families who have children with behavioral or emotional issues, special healthcare needs, navigating health and insurance systems. So please come to the MCO call if you're able to. We'll send out that flyer as well. We talked a little bit about PTI. So that's our parent training and information program. Here are some more things that are coming up. We've got our early start, so the early intervention, that's birth to 3. The Family Leadership Academy is coming up, I want to
Yes.
say in May.
Yeah.
And then our parent council training. So there's a lot going on. This kind of ends our time. We've got about a minute left. We always think it's going to be too much time, and then we get some good questions or we get onto a good topic. But here's some of the different ways that you can contact us. You can scan the QR code to head to our website. We will send out a follow-up email to everybody that attended today. But does anyone have any questions or any feedback, or would just like to share anything? We really look forward to getting to hear from you and work with you again in the future. And we hope that we will be a resource as either you, your family, or any of the families that you support in a professional setting continue to work on building a medical home or creating a care notebook that's really accessible and sustainable for them as the sun at the center.
Hi, this is Tara. I just wanted to circle back really quick for the care notebook. Totally understand the importance of it being in person so that you guys can actually build one with the families. But there's been a lot of emphasis during our recent MCO calls and the different work groups about the care coordinators being an active participant in like with these families regarding the notebook, and we're not going to be able to help them if we don't understand it ourselves. So I just think that it's important if you can hold a separate training for the MCOs, even if it's, you know, not my whole team that's joining, but at least myself. It's just going to be difficult for me to attend in person. So I just want us to be able to help our families and be knowledgeable about them when they come to us needing help or, you know, even talking about it. I don't want us to be like, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. So I just
Sure.
think it'll be important to hold a separate training if you could for us.
Yeah. And I don't know if you reached out to Jen. I think I was on the last MCO call where this was mentioned too, and it's definitely like a please reach out to us. We want to get that scheduled if that's something that you guys want to do, because we can gear it towards the MCOs. What that would look like, not as the caregiver, but as a support person when they're going through this. So yeah, please reach out to us. We can get that scheduled. I think that would be really great because the care notebook, we are doing it in person. Like you said, this is an opportunity for families specifically and caregivers to come together, have that space to share, create this tangible item. But for our MCOs, yeah, if you guys are interested in getting together in a space, even if that's a virtual space, to talk about this, how to sustain it, how to support families that are using it, we definitely want to be able to do that. So reach out to Jen. If you have my email, throw me on there too. And we can start talking about what that would look like to put that together for you guys, because absolutely, we want you to be one of those resources in that system.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, if anybody has anything else, please share your piece, but if not, we'll go ahead and say thank you. And we're grateful that you spent this time. We know this can be a little bit wordy. It is such an abstract concept when we're talking about the medical home, but what we really want is for you to know that you're probably already doing it. When we come in with the medical home model, we want it to be something that you can start to take off of your plate and hand over to providers and managers that already exist in this space to do exactly that, is to take the weight off of you. So if you have any questions, please contact us, reach out to us, email us, smoke signal, send a bird. We are here to help in any and all of the ways that we can. So just
Thank
want to
you
say
all.
thank you again.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.